I'm going to bring in someone special. I couldn't think of a better person to have this conversation with than tonight's guest. Joining me is Omari Kamal, founder and CEO of P&G Advisors and a business broker with Sunbelt Business Brokers of Metropolitan Chicago. Omari has spent more than 2 decades helping business owners understand value, profitability, acquisitions, succession planning, and long term wealth creation. His background spans investment management, private equity, accounting, mergers and acquisitions, and business advisory. Today, he helps entrepreneurs build businesses that are not only profitable today, but valuable tomorrow. Please help me welcome my husband, Omari Kamal.
Hey, Shara. Hey, everybody.
Hi there. So,
Good to be here.
Omari,
hmm
thank you for joining us. I know you peeked in last week, and I'm happy to have you this week as my special guest. Any insight or opening remarks that you'd like to share, given what you know about Keys and Counsel and our mission?
Yeah, well, the first thing that comes to mind is, one, thank you. Thank you for having me. I know biases and marriage and all. It's great to be here, and it's great to be a part of your journey more broadly, but also with this particular effort. I think it's to say the least, a worthwhile conversation. This idea of keys, indicative of ownership. Like what do you have the control of? What do you have entry and entree to? And it's not just a perfunctory question in my mind. The we all know it, but we take it completely for granted that the path to wealth, the path to security, as best as we could accumulate it as human beings, is through ownership, and there's no two ways about that. And that could be real estate, that could be entrepreneurship, that could be through liquid assets of all the various sorts. But there's no question about the fact that it comes through ownership. And I love the fact that you're leading this conversation. It's great to be a part of it. Number one. Number two, the counsel piece. To the point of what you made in your opening remarks, it really does take a guide in every instance. Everything that we're talking about, everything that you will talk about, very little of it can be found in a textbook somewhere or in some popular business book somewhere. Although there's some great nuggets in both of those things. By and large, the best of what I've experienced and what I would consider myself to have been successful at, and I think most successful people would agree with this, and that it always takes God. It always takes somebody who's willing to counsel you, to mentor you, to give you the game, as the young people say, and you can choose to accept that or not. And I see this as being an opportunity to be a part of that and support it, and it's great to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So, in the age of, just to piggyback on what you were saying, in the age of AI and having so much information, access to information, and there's talk about how AI is going to put a lot of us out of work, but I
Mhm.
think it's actually a way for us to get more in the mix because there's so much information. People need to understand how to utilize it, what's real, what's not, you know what's accurate and what's not. I mean, there's so much out there. It takes a real professional, a real person, to help individuals parse through that information and really understand that they do need counsel, right? They do need someone to help them understand what they have access to, right?
Yeah.
So, first question for you: when do people usually call an advisor, and when should they?
Yeah. So when people usually call an advisor, at least in my line of work, it's when things have gotten bad. Well, let me just say this. I can't just step over what you said before that too, because it was so rich and so great. Number one, with respect to AI and people's concern for being displaced, my 2 cents about that is that people said the same thing when the automobile was created. People said the same thing when the computer was created. People said the same thing when the internet was introduced to the world. So with every major breakthrough and innovation in the human experience, there always is this fear of the old going away and the uncertainty of what to deal with moving forward. And it makes this idea of, well, let me say it this way. So often people think about this idea of being replaced or this idea of being disrupted or put out, and it's a completely valid fear. I completely get it. But my encouragement to everybody listening to this now or at some point in the future is that I would be way more concerned with what it takes to evolve, what it takes to expand, what it takes to be enriched. And to come back to your question, it bears in mind these very old and timeless principles of just being prepared, of being clear about what's at the source of what it is that you have to offer and what it is that you need in order to make sure that you are as secure as you possibly can be. So that said, I mean, to sort of dovetail into the question that you're asking, I think uh, when people need counsel in any major transaction in my line of work, so I have a background as an accountant. Like you said, I've worked in private equity, and now our work is around working with small business owners to help them to grow and to scale and to expand through effective financial management, like accounting, our advisory work, but then also the business brokerage work. So we help our clients to sell their businesses as well. So our work is squarely designed around small businesses and mid-sized companies that are actually, and founders who are committed to exiting that point. And unfortunately, the when they start to ask and get interested in talking to somebody like me, it's because something has happened. Either there's a health issue, they're burned out for some reason or another, their business is suffering, they've had a downturn in sales for whatever reason or another, a key employee has left. So there are these major catastrophes that have occurred, and they will come to someone like me to say, hey, look, fix this. And there are some instances, thankfully, where I can help them fix it. But what I oftentimes can't calculate, and I'm not even sure that I want to in most instances, but it still is important for the people listening who haven't reached that point and maybe have the opportunity to prepare for something like that to occur, is the opportunities that have been missed, the opportunities that have been lost for waiting too long to do it. So the short answer to your question, Shara, is that something has happened, some emergency, some crisis has occurred, and they need to find counsel in order to deal with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But of course, the opportunity of conversations like these are, hey, how could this possibly happen to me? Where might I see myself maybe on the edges of that thing? And then what can I find in the way of support in order to help me circumvent some of those issues or sidestep some of those landmines?
Okay, so you have an accounting background, or you are an accountant, but you also have P&G Advisors does more than accounting. So can you share a little bit about how someone would come to you for a need for services, and what are your offerings?
Sure. Well, that's an important thing to understand about our work. So we are first and foremost accountants. That's our way of introducing ourselves to a great many of our clients. But the thing that distinguishes us from other accountants is that we have no interest in just handing you a set of financial statements or presenting a set of numbers to you so that you can congratulate yourself on how organized you are. We want to make sure that you understand what those numbers mean in the context of your business. We want you to understand what those reports mean in the context of what it's going to take for your business to scale to the next level. Because one of the things that we believe is that your business should work as hard for you as you work for it. And in one respect, that seems obvious. But if you look at the experience of most small and mid-sized company owners, that is not their experience in reality at all. They are prototypical Michael Jordan in the fourth quarter, taking every shot and playing every position on the court. Ultimately, they are serving as the bottleneck and the hub inside of their wheel of productivity. If you think about a hub inside of a wheel, there's the founder at the center, but those spokes is every decision, every call, every question that is vital to the future of the organization has to go through that hub, has to go through that founder. And so what we believe is that you start off with having a solid financial system, and that financial system will give you the foundation from which to begin to create a series of metrics and KPIs and reports that will actually let you know what your business is doing and how it's performing in real time. And when you build a leadership team around those metrics and begin to put systems in place to hold that leadership team to account for results that you otherwise would have had to produce on your own, you then have the makings of a scalable business. And that's where our system, our tools, and our offerings are all geared towards developing, not just helping the financials to be organized, although that's an important thing, but very quickly helping our clients to pivot and begin to move towards their businesses having a life of their own.
That's good. That's good. So a lot of business owners they're good at something, right? They've started a business to offer goods or services, and they, you know, freak out, for lack of a better word, when they start to think about the numbers and the systems, and it just becomes a bit overwhelming. So much so that they just don't do it at all, and they wait until the
Totally.
very last minute, and they need you, right? So
Yeah.
can you answer the
Well said.
question of, what are some expensive mistakes you see people make because they waited too long to seek out your services?
Well, the biggest mistake, the most expensive mistake that I see people making is that when they are hampered with a health issue, health crisis of some sort or another, or something critical happens in the trajectory of their business that causes the business to decline. And ultimately, they have to close their business as opposed to being able to hand it off to the next generation or being able to sell it to another party. What they don't realize is that those businesses that have been around for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years that were making, half a million, a million, two, three, four, five, $10 million a year. And then when they shutter worthlessly, what people often don't realize is that that one, two, three, four, $5 million business that might have had profits of, 200, 300, 400, $500,000, that business actually had a value, whether they were aware of it or not, of millions of dollars. And when you close that business for the sake of some life event that we all are going to have to contend with, then that's costly. Beyond that, I can't tell you how many times, mostly our clients come to us when either the IRS is knocking, and typically when the IRS is knocking, when it's got to that point, there are a myriad of interest and penalties that are there associated with that particular issue, whatever it may be, that we have to deal with, and ultimately are going to have to be paid in the majority of cases. Many of our clients come to us saying, "Hey, look, I know I'm making money. I just don't know where it's going." And when we do the analysis, again, we find tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that are going towards subscriptions that were never used or barely being used, bad hires that are being made, and the cost of a bad hire in most instances are absolutely incalculable, and otherwise decisions that were made without context or without guidance, and ultimately the opportunity costs, like I said before, are unknown. And then there are those sort of untold costs with respect to kind of the third option, that third sort of reason that a lot of people come to us is that, hey, look, I've been running this business, and like you said before, I mean, it started off great. I was having a blast at it, and I saw this period of great success. But now, Amari, you know what? I'm burned out, and I don't know what I need to do in order to. Forget about scaling and growing. I just need to be able to keep it going, but I don't have very much more in me to do so. And so there's the personal cost associated with it as well. So in terms of the most costly in dollars and cents, I mean, who knows? It varies, but I've seen in the millions before in the work that I've done with clients. But then there's just that personal cost that you can't quite calculate, but it's significant.
How long does it take to get in there and really see and analyze what's going wrong, what needs to happen in order to turn a business around, if they wanted to retain P&G advisors to do that?
Yeah, it doesn't take very long. Even the most complicated of businesses usually only take us 2 to 4 weeks in order to get things cleaned up. And once we could look at a profit and loss statement and a balance sheet, and I know most of your folks who are listening to this know what that is, but for the few of you who don't, a profit and loss statement is, if business were a sport, that would be like your scorecard, like what's coming in, what's going out, and then what's left over at the end, which is your profit or your loss. And that's a picture of what your business is over a period of time, whether that period be a month, a quarter, a year, or even a day. And that's a very important report to look at, but it doesn't take us very long to put that together. There's another report called a balance sheet, which is a snapshot of your business at a particular point in time. What are your assets? What are your liabilities? What's the difference between those? Which is your equity position? Businesses are structured legally quite a bit like a house. Like, so most people can really get, oh, I have a house that's worth, say, $300,000, and I have a mortgage that's worth that has, maybe $150,000 left to pay on it. That means my equity is $150,000. So that's what I really own. And businesses are structured in the same way. Assets minus liabilities equals this thing called equity. And that gives you a snapshot of all of your results since you first started your business. And so what I find is that when we can paint that picture for our clients, which doesn't typically take very long, they can see, oh, wow, over the last 12 months, over the last year, over the last quarter, year to date, I brought in this, I've spent this, and here's what I have left over. And what we find is that even though our clients know on some level conceptually how they performed, there's something about when they can see it in black and white that all of these ideas start to form. And they look at that balance sheet and they say, wow, for as long as I've been in business, this is what I have to show for it. And there's a spark that begins to shine in their eyes for like, wow, I get it. And it kind of hits them in the solar plexus. But then the question becomes, okay, what do we do now? How do we structure ourselves moving forward to make sure that this thing that happened or these things that have happened, whatever they may be, never, ever, ever happen again? And so to get that kind of insight, Shara, it doesn't take us very long. For the most complicated and for the most gnarliest of cases where we have clients that either don't have a set of books or they've been maintained very poorly, it doesn't take us very long to get to the heart of things and then begin to put some serious strategies in place to make sure that we take those lessons and build from them.
So, how would one get started if they were interested in having P&G advisors, turn their business around? What does that look like, in getting started?
Well, check us out online. I mean, the website is profitandgrowth.com. You'll see a big red button there that says earn your free valuation. So one of the things that we believe is important early on, as strange as it may sound, is that we want you to understand what your business is worth right now. And some of you may say, or some of your viewers may say, well, wait, why are we talking about what my business is worth right now? I don't want to exit my business. I don't want to sell my business. And that's actually the first thing that we invite you to consider. Like, yeah, that's why we said early on, look, we don't want to just manage your books. We don't want to just throw you a set of fancy reports. We want you to actually engage in a plan that's going to serve you. And one of the first questions that we ask you and we invite you to ask yourself is, what's the end game for my business? Like, what do I want this business to do for me long term? Do I want to give it to my kids? Do I want to sell it? Do I want to exit? Do I want to promote myself to chairman of the board? Do I want to sell the business to my employees? Even if you're not 100% sure what that answer is, at least beginning to think about it and ask yourself the question will begin to jog some ideas for what am I ultimately up to? Because what we find is that most small business owners, most mid-sized business owners, they now, their businesses are what they use now to kind of keep the lights on and to support their families, which is fine. And that's absolutely what it should be. But what we want you to do is stretch out a little bit further than that and begin to ask yourself, what might it look like once my business is effectively scaled and saleable? And is that amount that I would ultimately sell for a match with what I need it to be? And if it's not, or if I don't know, then that's what my relationship with P&G Advisors gets to be about. So the first thing that we offer you is a free valuation. And with setting up that free valuation, it takes about 10 minutes to do. You can also set up an appointment with one of our advisors or with me, and we'll talk you through that end game of yours. And now these questions of, well, what do I use these accounting records for? Why should I have a clean set of books? Because I'll be honest with you, and I'll be honest with your community, Shara. I've met a lot of people, and a lot of people who are listening to this know a lot of people who achieved some modicum of success without a very clean set of financial records. I mean, what's the truth? The truth is that you can make a decent amount of money. I'm talking about six figures, maybe even high six figures, without a lot of organization. Look, if you got some hustle and you got a good product or a good service that you're offering, you can get up to $300,000, $400,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year without a lot of organization. But there is a point that you'll hit, I promise you, where you'll get, hey, what got me here won't get me there. I need employees. I need marketing support. I need equipment. I need supplies. I need the ability to be able to pivot financially. And I have no idea how to begin to do that. And so when our clients come to us, that's the majority of what they have to deal with. Unfortunately, like we talked about earlier, it's, in the midst of some circumstances, some crises. But that's okay as well. But our encouragement is, look, before it gets to that point, go to our website, set up a meeting to meet with one of our fractional CFOs, take that free valuation, let us walk you through that, and allow that to be the context for whatever we do together, whether it be accounting work, tax planning and preparation work, or if you're interested in exiting and selling your business, we can help you out with that as well.
Okay, awesome. So that's profitandgrowth.com. That's where they go to find you.
That's where
Awesome.
you go to find me.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think that's a nice first step, right? So, what should you expect from your advisor ongoing? Like you've gotten started, and now this relationship. Are we meeting regularly to have conversations about growth? And is this something that's long term, or just to get me fixed up and looking pretty, and then I should be able to take whatever platform is used to manage the books and take it and run with it with my own team?
Yeah. Well, I would say it's maybe a little bit of both because look, your vision almost certainly will change. And what my vision for our clients and even for people that aren't our clients, but I really want them to be successful and want them to win, is that you would have a group of advisors who are around you that are experts in their respective fields and are principle based professionals such that no matter what the circumstance is, no matter what the issues arise, and it's not a question of if issues arise, but matter when those issues arise, that they have a unique set of capabilities to be able to draw from those principles, to draw from those values, draw from those areas of expertise, and provide you with a solid answer that will help you again sidestep those landmines and or take advantage of whatever opportunities may exist. So as nebulous as it may sound, having advisors that really get what you're up to and are committed to you achieving those objectives is key. And there's a version of that with the accountant that you choose, with the attorney that you choose, with the wealth manager that you choose, at the insurance agent that you choose, and any number of other professionals that you might have to work with. So that the idea is this: when you are, and this is something that I repeat to a lot of my clients. I mean, one, as far as financial management is concerned, my recommendation is that you should be meeting with your professional at least quarterly, at least, if not monthly, and those conversations should be being led or instigated primarily by them. You really should have the experience of that your business is front and center, and that you aren't just checking off boxes. All right, here is your revenue, here is your expenses, here is your profit and loss. You know, keep up the good work. The question is always wants to be like, well, what is the next level? What is the next step? Again, what do these numbers mean in the context of what we're up to? And that's what I would suggest are a few of the qualities that would want to be there in order to really feel like you're getting your money's worth for that type of a service that you're providing. And then ultimately here too as well, and this may seem like a tall order for a lot of folks, your business should be growing. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, well, yeah, but what does my advisor have to do with that? My view is everything. Like ultimately, if you're not growing, if you're not expanding, I'm not saying that any of your advisors are bad people or not competent with what they do, but there is a such thing as having the right kind of advisors, and it's and I think it's just physics that ultimately the folks that you hang around should be having a positive impact on your business ultimately, and your business should be growing towards the effort. And if it's not, it may be time to not, I mean, I don't know if you necessarily need to change your advisors, but at least expand.
Great. Well, for those who are tuning in, I'm seeing comments, and you are welcome to leave questions in the comments section for Omari to answer. We are watching the comments, so now is the time. Right before we take a quick 2-minute break, Omari is up to some new things on the business brokerage side, and I want him to share a little bit more about what he's doing with Sunbelt Metro Chicago, a new venture. So again, if you have any comments, we're going to take a quick break. Feel free to share this live. We'll be on for another 30 minutes or so. Definitely pass it along and share it. Visit profitandgrowth.com if you have a need for his advisory services. All right, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk about expectations, how you get the most from your advisor, what Omari is up to on the business brokerage side. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Thank you for a great conversation. I wouldn't expect anything less from you. You are super duper 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 knowledgeable in your space, and I'm hoping that the audience, those that are watching, are taking lots of the golden nuggets and will put them to use. And definitely reach out to you at profitandgrowth.com. You are up to something new, and I want you to share a bit about Sunbelt because this is huge. This is huge. You know, we often talk about, and I advise clients on the real estate side, and we're always thinking about, okay, let's buy some houses, let's buy real estate as a means of growing and building wealth, right? But we don't think about buying businesses and the businesses that we have operating, what the value of them, those businesses are, and how to prepare them for sale. So, can you share a little bit about why you made the choice to enter into the business brokerage arena and what's next for Sunbelt?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. And the reason why I'm stuttering now is I just got a flash of all of the experiences that led up to this point. I don't know. It's a much larger conversation probably. But I don't know if we pick these things as much as they pick us, you know, but just when you asked that question, it just hit me newly. that I've been calling myself a fractional CFO before. It was kind of cool to do so. I mean, now I think you hear a lot of accounting professionals calling themselves fractional CFOs, right? But and you have to kind of, whenever you come across that, you have to ask yourself, well, what do you mean by that exactly? But that said, if I went all the way back, to my early years right out of college as an investment advisor, as a stockbroker, I remember meeting with this one business owner, because I really like working with small business owners. Small business owners were, for me, in my opinion, always the smartest tools in the shed. Some advisors like doctors, some advisors like teachers and firefighters and city workers, some advisors like attorneys and professional service people, and that was all fine. I loved small business owners. Small business owners were always, they appreciated taking risks. They were risk takers. They were smart. They always really got what it was I was trying to propose to them. The challenge with small business owners is that they never had any money. And I'm talking about people who had multi-million dollar businesses. I'm talking about 8, 9 figure businesses, no money to invest with. But when you dig into it, you start to see why, because they were always putting the money back into their businesses, back into their business, back in their businesses. And I'll never forget meeting with this one business owner who I was dealing with. And he said this thing to me. It was a simple thing, but it was so profound. He says, Omari, I see myself as the best investment I'll ever make. I see myself as the best investment I'll ever make. And something about that just really hit me, like, oh, you know what? I believe that's true. I believe that people are the best investment they'll ever make. Now, I'm not saying anything against real estate or stocks or bonds or mutual funds. All that stuff is important. Like I said at the top of the show, I think ownership is where it's at. And we need to educate ourselves about all manners of ownership, whether it be real estate, paper assets, or entrepreneurship. We need to have a facility in all of it. But I think by and large, all things being equal, all things being the same, trusting yourself and trusting your own efforts to go out and create something that has value in the marketplace is key, is everything, and weathers any kind of economic storm. So that said, I've been talking that talk for the better part of 11, 12 years to my clients, because it's something I got intrigued with along my own personal path some time ago. And over the last several years, we've had a number of our clients successfully exit. And there were a number of instances where we attempted to refer our clients out to business brokers, and the response to us was, hey, I don't mind the referral, I don't mind the introduction, but you guys have helped me build this. You guys have helped me grow this. I trust you. Why can't you just help me facilitate this transaction? Mm-hmm. And initially, the result, the answer was, because that's not our lane, that's not our cup of tea. We don't know how to do that. And that was true. And that was the best thing for the client. But we only had to hear that a few times before we got to the point, like, okay, maybe this is something that we should be doing, something that we should take advantage of in terms of really helping our clients to capture this value that we've helped them to build over however many years. So with that said, we started to put our feelers out. Sunbelt Business Brokers is the largest network of business brokers in the entire world. They were interested in us because we built a great name for ourselves in the exit advisory space. So we got brought on as the national practice leader for Sunbelt in terms of teaching their brokers how to be exit planners. And likewise, part of that deal was that we were granted one of the 3 offices in Greater Chicago for offering Sunbelt to Chicago and the state of Illinois more broadly. So that's our work. So now we've been doing it. We've announced ourselves officially. We have a few listings coming online very shortly, and so when those come online officially, I'm excited to share those with everybody.
Awesome. So if anyone is interested on that front, on finding out about businesses that might be available for sale, they go to profitandgrowth.com as well.
Go to profitandgrowth.com, and there's a link at the very top of the page that says buy a business, and you'd be able to check out our listings in the next several days. But in the meanwhile, you'll also be able to go to that same page if you just like to talk with me or one of our associates about the prospect of buying a business. You may not necessarily know what you want to buy, but you'd like to buy. This is the other really exciting part about the brokerage space, because there are a number of our clients who aren't necessarily interested in exiting. They actually want to buy. So if you run a successful for example, HVAC company or a successful dental practice or a successful manufacturing company or whatever the case, whatever your business may be, you guys may have heard about this phenomenon called the silver tsunami, which means that people in the baby boom, 1946 to 1964, are retiring in droves. Many of them are small business owners, and they haven't done a great job, by and large, at creating succession plans for themselves or putting the mechanisms in place to effectively sell their businesses. So we're getting a lot of those calls, but those opportunities are there to the point of what you were making before. Buying businesses is as valid an alternative as real estate or any other investment prospect, and not that much more difficult to do. But it pays to have good counsel. You want to talk with somebody to begin to get you prepared for that. What do you need to have in place? Not unlike buying a house or another or a piece of investment property. How does your credit need to look? How does your income need to look? What are the specific nuances of buying a business? What are the types of businesses that you'd be qualified to buy? That every business isn't built for everybody, and you want to understand what's out there and what types of things you might otherwise be interested in that you can actually add value to. So we've been more than happy to have that conversation with you and help you put, as we call it, that buy box together, and help you in your search as you go about finding what's next for you, whether you're entering into entrepreneurship for the first time or you already run a business, and rather than continue to bootstrap, you could actually expand through acquisition.
Awesome. So would one start with you to get pre-approved, and do you have the resources for financing resources to be able to finance the business
Correct. Well, the
purchase?
pre-approval process works a little bit differently in the business buying space. Yeah, there are certain measures you need to meet in terms of credit viability, and that's there. But what some of your viewers may be inspired by is that the majority of the underwriting process for small businesses is actually with the business itself. So, because that's the way the lender is looking at it. Like, look, this business should be able to pay its own debt, and that's how you should be looking at it as well. So yes, there are certain things that you would need to do in order to get yourself prepared from a financial standpoint, but it's mostly on the educational front. And there are some things you need to know in terms of how you need to prepare yourself. But we have a plethora of small business lenders that we can introduce you to and connect you with that do great work and have certain specialties that we can apprise you of and introduce you to them as well, to make sure that you're educating yourself in every way that you need to from every party of the potential deal that would take place.
Okay. Are you involved in franchise or have franchise opportunities available as well? And do you have any thoughts about buying into a franchise versus buying an existing business that's not part of a franchise?
Of course, yeah. We do have access to franchise opportunities, and we can broker those deals just as well as anything else. All things being equal, franchises are great. It's a proven model. There's a great amount of scrutiny that franchise or has to go through in order to offer itself for sale to the general public, and they have proven track records over a great many of examples to demonstrate their value and their worth in the marketplace. So when we go through our analysis and it seems to you as a potential buyer that franchising is something that you could be interested in, we have literally hundreds of franchise opportunities that are available that would connect with your unique set of skills and interests. Not to say it's a one size fits all, that franchises are going to be okay or going to be a fit for everybody, but absolutely, if there were a franchise opportunity that you'd be interested in, there's a great benefit in going that way. Not necessarily better than any other opportunity, but certainly something that should be on the table for anybody that is open in terms of the opportunities that they might like to look into.
Okay. So if I, let's say, find a business that I'm interested in purchasing, what should I be looking for when, as part of the due diligence process? I'm looking at the financials. What else am I to look for to determine whether or not the price is right? And, in terms of, how long the business has been running and the actual value, is it there beyond what I see in the black and white on the numbers? Where do I begin?
Of course. Yeah, there are certain drivers of value that you want to be apprised of and you want to make your assessments with. So assuming you have some businesses that you're looking at, they're the types of businesses that you'd be interested in, that you'd be able to add value to, that you'd be great at. And you're clear about that. But then the question of like, okay, due diligence, how do I begin to look at this? There are several factors that we invite our clients and we educate our clients, attempt to educate them on with respect to how do you determine whether or not this is a good deal for you. Of course, there's the financial component of it. There's a certain amount that this business would have generated in the way of revenue and profits. And there are just kind of like when you're buying a piece of real estate, there are comps, there are examples of businesses that have sold recently that are similar to that business that you want to compare to say, hey, look, is this what the market is creating or allowing in terms of value in the marketplace, and am I over or under that in any way? So there's that part. But then to further sort of qualify that, you want to look at, well, the broader market. Is it expanding? Is it contracting? Does this business have a solid marketing and sales program? Is the business overly concentrated in any one vendor, customer, or employee? That's something that you want to look at in the due diligence process. Is there a recurring revenue model? I believe personally that every business can and should have a recurring revenue model. Not that it's a bad deal if it doesn't have that, but that could be something that you think about as you go about buying it. That could potentially add value to it and add to the multiplier. Is there a particular niche that this business feels, or are they just fighting it out, duking it out with a bunch of other competitors inside of it? How does the company receive its cash? Do they get their cash for their services or their products on the front end or the back end? So there are all these factors that go into it that you want to have some facility and some support, frankly, in assessing those matters to really come up like, hey, look, is it a good deal for one, like you said, and is this something that I could run and continue to grow? The biggest thing I find, at least in terms of some of those qualitative factors, is how strong is the business in terms of its systems, its processes? Am I buying a job or am I buying an actual business, right? If I'm going to have to come in and work 2 or 3 or 4 different jobs and those roles aren't very well cleared out, is that something that could be valuable to me? And you have to make that determination for yourself with, of course, a good advisor who's walking you through it. Now, those are, again, more of the qualitative measures. Quantitatively, the numbers I just kind of throw out to people that I invite people to consider is that, generally speaking, entrepreneurs, when they're buying, are looking for about a 20% rate of return on their money. So when you look at the overall investment cash that you're having to come up with, the loans that you're having to sign your name on, the dotted line for, 20% is about what you're looking at. And the frame of reference is that, well, if I could get, 3-4% at the bank, or I can get 8-9-10% in the stock market, I would want at least 20% from a business that I'm a part of, right? That's kind of the rule of thumb there. So when you do your math, you want to look at, like, well, what's my actual rate of return on the money that I'm investing in this, whether it's coming out of my pocket or whether it's back. Number one, cash on cash return. My experience is that people generally want all their cash back in 24 to 30 months. Like when I look at a deal and I'm having to invest all of this in it, I want all of that back in about 2 years, 2.5 years or so is the general calculus there. And then there's some other measures that I could share with your folks offline, like debt to income ratio, and like what kind of income to debt coverage you would want to see, that a bank would need to see, and what you would feel comfortable with, depending on how you were looking at financing the deals. But those are a few perspectives I would offer for how to really evaluate deals and determine whether one is right for you from a financial standpoint as well as from an operational standpoint.
So from what I'm understanding and hearing you talk, I mean, buying a business is a whole nother animal than real estate or buying property. And it's one that you want to make sure that you have counsel guiding you through the process so that you understand and you're entering into the process with open eyes and with professionals who actually know what they're doing. A business broker is different than a real estate broker. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say so. And not better or worse or anything like that, but just different. It has its own sort of nuances to it in terms of really understanding what the market is calling for. And so if on the sales side, if you're a business owner that is looking to exit or sell, you want to find someone who has an interest in and a connection to your particular field. Not necessarily that they need to be an expert in it, because there are some sort of truths in the broader world of business brokerage that any qualified broker would be able to help you through. But there is there are a number of more. I would suggest that there's some moving parts, some additional parts that are there to be dealt with that you're just not going to find in a standard real estate transaction on both the sell side as well as on the buy side.
Okay. Do you partner with commercial real estate brokers when they're selling the real estate and there's a business that goes along with it? Are you involved from that standpoint? I have, clients that are, selling, property that is commercial in nature that has an existing business there, but
Yeah,
they don't oftentimes think or understand what goes into the sale of the business along with the real estate. And
you're absolutely right.
there is another component to it that should be considered in the value.
No, you're absolutely right. So real estate has its own value that a great many real estate brokers are very clear on how to establish the value of. And the way to sort of look at that is that the business has its own value apart from, the real estate has its own value that's apart from the business itself. And this is to your point, to your question before, one of the biggest distinctions that exists between a business broker and a real estate broker, because all business brokers aren't necessarily real estate brokers and vice versa, right? And some are both on both fronts. But to your point, business brokers, and this is probably the biggest difference between business brokers and real estate brokers, is that to your point, the business has its own value, and there's a process that the business broker will take the business owner through for helping them understand what the actual business sans the real estate is worth. So that there's a process. Well, there's a report that we give our clients called a broker's opinion of value of the business, where we take your financial statements over the last 3, 4, 5 years and put a weighted average together of your net earnings numbers. And there's a process that we go through called recasting, which means that, okay, so good. So going back to our accounting conversation before, I can say this because I am an accountant, but even if I weren't an accountant, I'd still be able to say this. It wouldn't be any less true. So when I put on my accounting hat, what I'm interested in for you is how to get your net income down as low as possible for taxes so that you'll pay as little taxes as possible. But if we're being honest, wink, wink, nod, nod, we're throwing some stuff on that financial statement that that probably shouldn't be there. Okay, so for the purposes of getting that net income down as low as possible for tax purposes. Now, with that said, everybody's doing it. That doesn't hurt you in any way when it comes time to sell your business, because we do this thing as brokers called recasting, where all that fancy, sexy stuff that we put into your financial statement in order to get your income down, we now need to add all that stuff back as much as we possibly can to come up with this number called SDE, which is short for seller's discretionary earnings. And so we want to take that number as well as some other numbers that are somewhat connected to that number. Many of you all have heard the acronym EBITDA, earnings before interest, depreciation, taxes, and amortization. And so we compare those numbers against, again, what other similar companies have sold for at similar rates, and also a rating of those drivers that I was discussing with you before. I mean, we come up with a multiple, and based on that multiple, we take your net earnings, your sales discretionary earnings, your EBITDA, or some variation of the three, and we compare that against the multiple. We multiply it against the multiple, and we come up with this value. So the easy way to sort of look at it is, if my business is making $1 million a year, and my net income, say, is $100,000 a year, and I meet with Omari and he shows me, oh, there's about another $500,000 in add backs that I can add back here. So now my seller discretionary earning is now $600,000, because what's going to happen during due diligence is that potential buyer, after they make an offer, is they're going to look at your financial statements, they're going to look at your tax returns, and they say, okay, I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to get their taxes down, which is fine, but I need to be able to draw a straight line between those financial statements and those tax returns, which are filed with the government, and I can trust those. And what this broker has now told me that the business is really worth with all of their add backs. And if I agree with all those add backs, and I also agree that that company is worth what it's worth, and then that's what I'm ultimately going to pay. And so that process is just that. It's a process, and that you want to have a solid broker who can not only do that work accurately, but can walk you through it and make sure you understand it as well, because you have to defend that during the due diligence process. Of course, with the broker's help, but ultimately it's your word that, yep, those statements are accurate, and you can count on producing this kind of result from the business once you buy it.
Right. Well, you are a trusted source, and I congratulate you on taking the step over into the business brokerage side. Congratulations on your acquisition of your new Sunbelt office. I look forward to partnering with you. I hope that those of you that are watching have found value in this conversation. Do you have any closing remarks for us, Omari, as I prepare us to close it?
Yeah, well, thank you all for watching this, and it's a brave new world afoot. I know there are lots of scary things that are happening, lots of things to be concerned for, but I'd invite you to consider that we've experienced these times before. Granted, they looked a little different back then, but it's the same soup, different bowl, and that the opportunities far outweigh the challenges. But just make sure we stick together. Obtaining good counsel looks a lot of different ways. It's certainly my pleasure to support you in ways in which I might be qualified to do so. But I would just offer a goodbye coupled with a note of hope about what's available, and I'm super excited for what is happening now in the marketplace, and let's put our heads together and figure out a way to make it work for us.
So, well, thank you. As we wrap up tonight, I hope you leave with one important takeaway. The best time to build your team is before you need them. Great decisions are rarely made in isolation. Whether you're buying a home, investing in real estate, purchasing a business, or planning your financial future, surround yourself with professionals who are to educate you, challenge you, and protect your interests. That's what good counsel looks like. Thank you, Omari.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, next Wednesday, we're taking the conversation to the next level. Our next session is titled Invest in More Than a Home. Real estate and business investment opportunities will return. We're going to answer questions like, what's the difference between residential, multifamily, and commercial real estate? Why are more investors buying existing businesses instead of starting from scratch? What makes a business a good investment? How do you build wealth through assets that generate cash flow? If you've ever wondered how people build wealth beyond earning a paycheck, you don't want to miss next week's conversation. We'll be streaming live again on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and we'd love for you to join us. So invite a friend, share the broadcast, bring your questions. Until next Wednesday, keep learning, keep building, and remember, it pays to have good counsel. Good night, everyone.